Hi, it's me, Professor Deanna Zabello, and this little video is about 7 things you can tell about a play just by looking at it. Now, I'm sure you remember all about Aristotle's 6 elements of theater, and I'm sure you also remember that the final element, spectacle, is the one that has to do with things we can see. So that's what we're talking about today. So, what are these 7 qualities of a play that you can tell just by looking at it? Well, the first one has to do with atmosphere, mood, or tone. And if you think you can't tell what the atmosphere or tone or mood of a play might be just by looking at it, take a look at these pictures. Number 2, level of realism. What does that mean? Well, we've talked about how things can be realistic, meaning that they are similar to real life, and we've talked about how things can be anti-realistic, meaning that they are in some way heightened or poetic. These 2 images are depictions of the same character, the Earl of Gloucester in Shakespeare's King Lear, who is blinded. Very different productions with very different levels of realism. The level of realism does not only contain the 2 opposites, realism and anti-realism, but it's a continuum. It can range from the very realistic to the very weird. Number 3, historical period. By this, I don't mean the time period in which the play was written. I mean the time in which the production of the play is taking place. Here, for example, is a photo of a production of The Trojan Women, a play that was written nearly 3,000 years ago. But if you look closely, you'll see that the costumes are clearly modern day. This can also describe the designer's approach to historical period. So look at these 2 pictures side by side. On the left, an actual wedding photo from the 1880s, and on the right, a photo from a production set in the 1880s. They look pretty similar, right? Now look at these 2. On the left, a dress from the late 18th century when paniers, those things that stick out at the sides, were in style, and on the right, a photo from a production set in the late 18th century. Clearly, the designers are referencing the time period, but their approach to it is a little silly. One final note. Designers can also mix and match elements from different time periods. So if you look carefully at this image, you'll see Converse high-top sneakers, paniers, 18th century top coats, and jeans all mixed together. It makes for an interesting, disjointed, out-of-time feeling. Number 4, geographical location. This, of course, means not when we are, but where we are. So here, the setting is Northern Africa, probably Morocco. And in this image, we are so clearly in Los Angeles. This information, where we are, is something that we usually think comes from the scenery, but check this out. In this case, it's the costumes that are telling us where we are. Number 5, socioeconomic circumstances. This one is pretty self-explanatory. Looking at these photos, both from modern dramas, which one is about a family that's wealthy? Which one is about a family of modest means? Our last one is actually a twofer, 6 and 7, climate or weather. So, for example, if you know that Spanish moss only grows in warm, humid climates, you know that we are probably in the south. And here we have an ice cliff, a crevasse, climbers with climbing gear bundled up in warm clothing. And one last note about which part of the visual picture is giving us this information. In this picture, look at the lighting. It's cold, thin, at a high angle. It suggests that this play is taking place somewhere in the north, and in fact, it's a play by a Norwegian playwright, Henrik Ibsen. The people who are responsible for creating these visual images are the designers. So, what do designers do? Well, all designers have to have a thorough understanding of the script because the text is where all this information comes from. When I'm working on a play, it's not unusual for me to read the script anywhere from 6 up to 12 or 14 times. Designers also work closely with each other to make sure that every part of the visual picture is working together. And they work closely with the director to make sure that his or her interpretation of the play is being supported by the work that they're doing. I hope this video has given you a little glimpse into how the visual elements of a play, or spectacle, can say volumes about the story and the world of the play.